Se eri ocho, and welcome to a new episode of Konnakol 2020, the series in which I teach you, show you, or practice something about Konnakol every day of the year. I am Carlitos from Slovenia, who else? And today I have something special. We're going to discuss theory, and in particular, the theory behind the series of abhiprayams, of exercises, that I started showing you in episode 94, all the way till episode 101. So I wanted today to make 3 points, to draw attention to 3 important theoretical points about this abhiprayams, because I am a firm believer that theory should come afterwards, right? So once you practice all of this, and I'm sure you have, I wanted to bring attention to, okay, why do these abhiprayams work so well? Or let's say, how do they work the way they work? As you no doubt will recall, we use this structure in every abhiprayam that we've seen. And what we did was changing the value of x to, from 3 to 10. So that, let's say, that when x was 3, the actual structure of the numbers looked like this. And when the x was 10, the structure looked like this. However, this is a formula that remains unchanged no matter the value of x, right? So you can have x be any whole number you want, and still the formula would apply. So if we let x have a value of 1, we would get this structure here, which is 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 gap, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 gap, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is something that you can actually recite, and it would sound like this. Da, 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 da. So this is a very short phrase, only lasting 1 avartanam, and it's not really musical. It's not very musical in itself. I can't think of any situation in which you would use this particular version of the abhiprayam, right? And that is why we start in our practice runs with the number 3, with the phrase for the number 3, which is da ki de. We don't recite the 1 for 1 or the 1 for 2, because the 2 is too easy, I guess. Anyway, we start with the number 3, and then we go normally until the number 10. But we could, of course, go into larger numbers. We can go after 10 and go on to 20 if you feel like. The abhiprayam will still be there for you, with you holding your hand along the way. However, this x equals 1 version of the abhiprayam is the best example that in order to realize one particularity of the structure. That's the first that I wanted to bring into attention today. So let's look at the main phrase here that is highlighted in red, as always, in red, orange, and yellow, right? When you add up those values, that is 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, what you get is the number 10. And that number, it's very interesting, because if you think about it, that number 10 is 10 times the value of x, because our x is 1. That is the reason why in every abhiprayam that we've seen in the recent episodes, I always told you, or let's say, and I draw attention to the fact that the sum total of all the main phrases were multiples of 10. So, let's say in the exercise for the phrase of 5, tadikinatom, the main phrase that was 20, 15, 10, 5, that the sum of that was 50. And 50 is nothing but our x times 10. Cool, huh? And now I wanted to bring attention to a second interesting aspect of these abhiprayams that is related to their shape. If you recall, I kept saying in every video that these abhiprayams had the shape of a Theermanam, and that usually the shape of a Theermanam is rendered like this. That is, 3 phrases of equal length separated by 2 gaps of equal length themselves. So we again let x be 1, and then if we add the values of each component, we will get this. And this, my friends, the structure of 10, 1 gap, 10, 1 gap, 10, is probably the most widespread basic Theermanam out there in the wild. But by that I mean the most common shape of a Theermanam that has positive gaps. And what do I mean by that? That the gaps have a value of at least 1. And that brings me to the next interesting point, which is that the Theermanams sometimes have 0 value gaps. And we've seen many examples of that remember all those 555s or 999s that we had in many compositions. Well, that is a Theermanam, and I call them Theermanams. But, to be perfectly honest with you, the proper way of writing those would have been, let's say, 5-0 gap, 5-0 gap, 5. But of course, nobody would do that. That would be super cumbersome. That's why. But the shape of the Theermanam should always have a space for 2 gaps in between the 3 phrases. So this 555 is like a shorthand for 50505. And I think it's very important because when you start seeing those things, those patterns, it's like seeing the Matrix. It's like the wool is pulled out of your eyes, of some other metaphor that I don't recall exactly how they go. But Matrix, yeah, you see the Matrix. I know that one. And finally, the third point I wanted to make is that, okay, now that we know all this, could we perhaps have some fun with this structure and maybe find alternative ways of reciting this abhiprayam? And the answer is, of course you can, and you're supposed to do so. So I'm going to leave you with 2 different ways of reciting this abhiprayam that, of course, since this is the formula, the main formula we're talking about, this will open up 2 entirely new families of abhiprayam that you will be able to recite with an X for a value of 3 to 10 to whatever. So this is really juicy stuff because it unlocks the way for a lot more abhiprayam fun. And what else do you want to do but this, right? We're in quarantine, we're in lockdown, yay! So the first is like the reverse. So instead of decreasing the value of our multiplication, we're going to increase it. So to recap, the original abhiprayam was 4x, 3x, 2x, 1x. So what we're going to do in the reverse is simply go 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, a gap of 1x, 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, another gap of 1x, and then 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, a lot of x's. And here you can see the numerical example for our phrase for 3, so that x has a value of 3, and this is how we would recite this, how it would sound. Ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta 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 ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta tang ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta tang. So as you can see, it has a very different feel because the longer phrases, right, the ta, ki, ta, our number 12 in this case, they come at the end. So it doesn't have the same level of finality, let's say, as the original one, because it ended with a phrase for 1x, which is ta, ki, ta. Okay, and the second alternative way of doing this abhiprayam, and again, a whole new family opens up here, is by actually breaking the Theermanam shape. So what we do is like this. You have the structure right here, which is we're going to do 4x, 3x, 2x, and then 1x gap, 4x, 3x, 2x, 1x gap, 4x, 3x, 2x, and then 1x, 1x, 1x. So we're taking all the single x's, the 1x, right, from the first and second lines, and we are putting them at the end of the third line. However, by doing this break, we create a very conclusive and very final Theermanam on its own right. So, you know what? Let me recite it to you, and you make your own opinion about it. ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, tang, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, tang, ta, ki, ta, 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 ta, ki, ta. So that's all for today. This episode had a lot of basic arithmetic in it. And of course, we all know that mathematics is like the linchpin of all rhythm, be it Indian or Western or whatever. You can't have rhythm without mathematics because rhythm is mathematics after all. So I wanted to give a shout out to the International Day of Mathematics, which was recognized by UNESCO only this year in 2020. That day is March 14th in honor of, what is normally called as Pi Day, because the approximate value of pi is 3.14, and in some places of the world, not in Slovenia, you would write March 14 as 314. And the theme for this year was mathematics is everywhere. And they put together a collective video, something like 5 minutes or something, that was really, really nice, in which people from all over the world showed and proved in something like 15 seconds how mathematics is definitely everywhere. So from the design of shoes to castles to the, all sort of things, really, really interesting stuff. And I wanted to submit a video of them about Konnakol, of course, but I didn't get there in time. So, maybe at some other point I'll do it. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, maybe you are, because if you are a bit like me, feel free to go to idm314.org. That's their home on the internet, and see what they're doing. I think it's a lot of fun work and also educational, which is the best kind of educational and fun. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching this, especially and a bit longer video that it took me quite an extra time to do, but hey, we are here to serve. As always, you're welcome to subscribe to the channel and to like my page on Facebook, because that helps me with extending the reach. And if you have any question, comments, doubts, or anything, please leave them in the comments, because that will help me in drafting future episodes. That's all from me. I have been Carlitos from Slovenia, and I'll see you all tomorrow with something very special. Okay, see you. Bye.